I know that you have a sales routine. So can you walk us through what that looks like?
What is the logical next step from these 11 people look at my stories every day to sales actually happens in a conversation? And there's a big divide between them watching and an actual conversation.
How do you think about the content piece to aid those sales conversations that then happen?
If you find yourself in a place where I've spent 3 weeks talking about cats, dogs, or coffee, and they're my ideal client, but how do I turn the conversation?
Welcome back to the Sustainable Creator Podcast. Today we are talking about lead gen with Alyssa Moorhead, who is a sales expert. She's been in the game for well over 11 years. She's based in Denver, Colorado, and we are so excited to be able to hear her take on ethical sales and how to find leads through Instagram. We have a lot we're going to cover today, and I know without a doubt that this is going to resonate with a lot of you. So if you don't have a notebook already, grab it or have some way to take notes, because this is the type of episode for that. Welcome to the podcast, Alyssa. We are really excited that you're here.
I'm so excited to be here too. I got to see Joe and Lyndon finally in person a couple of years ago in Indianapolis, and it was so much fun. And they're two of my favorite people and my favorite couplepreneurs for sure, which is quite an accomplishment. So I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
We'll take it.
It is.
I like to start podcasts with some definitions for things that people don't necessarily have a lot of acquaintance with. And part of your intro was you run a done-for-you leads agency. What does that mean?
Yeah, we get this question every day. So I've actually changed my bio multiple times, obviously over 11 years, but I've changed my bio even to fit that new phrasing, to fit done-for-you leads. And basically for me, done-for-you leads means we do both lead generation and lead management. Pretty much everybody we've worked with, which is hundreds of clients over 11 years, has what we call buried leads. And so they don't think they have leads and they come to us for lead generation, but there actually are leads sitting in their audience. And I know we're going to get into exactly what that means. And then once you start doing lead generation, you have to do lead management because we want people to reply. And once you get replies, you have to nurture, qualify, help move those conversations forward. So for us, done-for-you leads is both lead generation and managing leads in the Instagram inbox.
Mm-hmm.
And follow-up definition for the context of this conversation, how do you define what a lead is?
For me, there are two definitions really going towards a lead tracker. So for me, a lead initially or a potential lead is someone that on paper fits your ideal client. And I will scan and have my sales team scan Instagram profiles for, does this person fit what we're looking for? We look at superficial stuff first. We look at follower count to try to ascertain where they are in business. We look at how much content they're posting, what formats are they posting in, how frequently is it, how high quality is it? So we'll look at those things first. That's somebody who has potential. Just like if you're on a dating app and they look good, they could be somebody, maybe. Then after we've identified potential leads, we go to warm leads. For me, a warm lead is someone that has the goal, that's looking for support that you could help with. Once we go from goals, what actions they're taking, okay, I see where I could use some support in this area. A hot lead would be somebody expressing interest in the offer. So they would say, yeah, Alyssa, I'm struggling with leads. I don't get as many as I want. They ghost me. They take a long time. What do you think I should do? I give them some pointers. They say, well, what would it look like if you help me with this? That's when they go to the hot status.
Okay. So I love that you brought this up. Also love that you brought up a lead tracker. I know there's probably many ways that you can go about tracking leads. So how do you like to go about it?
We've used the same lead tracking system for the last 3.5 years, which is not a lead tracking system. So I've never found something that would perfectly fit our needs, which is to say the majority of our leads are in Instagram. What most people think of lead tracking is Dubsado, Honeybook, somewhere where someone is going to submit a contact form, which is a mistake. Dubsado and Honeybook are a piece of the puzzle or whatever you use to capture somebody in an application form or a sales call booking form. When clients come to me, they'll tell me, Well, I have leads in Dubsado forms, in Honeybook forms, people I did sales calls with. We can download everyone who booked through Calendly or Acuity or whatnot, but your lead journey, which is pertinent to lead tracking, starts before that. So if I get new followers asking questions in the DMs, if I get Christina came back from 6 months ago and says now she thinks she's ready. She didn't book a sales call again or ever. She didn't book a sales call. She didn't fill out a form. She doesn't have a new proposal out, but she came back into my DMs and then people lose them. They're not tracking it. I just called somebody out on this morning who I was going to pay for thread support, who's awesome. She like ghostwrites writing threads. And like 7 months ago, I asked her if she would come back to me in January and like check in on me. And she never did that. Lead tracking would support with that. So we're not using just Dubsado or just Calendly for contact forms or call bookings. Our process starts before that. And so we built out a lead tracker in ClickUp, which is to say anywhere you have a spreadsheet, you can have lead tracker. If you guys have Google Sheets or Excel or Asana, Trello, ClickUp, Monday, Airtable, any of those are fine because they act like a spreadsheet. And we can go over to when we get to this or whenever you'd like some of the things that you want to track in the lead tracker. But the most important thing is that you have a lead tracker. It's got to be digital, not written down, because ideally you're talking to people. The details of those conversations change and they need to be somewhere that's easily manageable. That doesn't include you scratching people off and writing a bunch of notes. Like, that's a start. If I'm at a networking event, I might meet 3 people. I might write them down on the back of my business card, or I might jot them down in the notes on my phone, but they need to go to somewhere systemized, somewhere organized. So that's why we built out in a Google Sheet so we can capture people at the beginning of their journey to becoming a client, not just when they book a sales call or fill out an application form. So ours is ClickUp.
So if we had someone like right at the beginning, not ready to pay someone for leads and they wanted to track their own, like what is like the bare minimum things that should go into that lead tracker if they're making it in Sheets?
Yeah. So you definitely want first and last name. You want the type of business that they are. You want the date you last talked to them. You want a date to follow up. You want notes, and you want whatever their platform handle email is. So if it's LinkedIn, Instagram, email, text message, most important things, bare bones, would be their name and where you're talking to them, the notes, and last time you talked to them. So who it is, when you talked, what you talked about would be a really simple answer. If that's not in there, you're going to be in trouble.
I think for us, one of the things that I found really helpful is also like if it's to a social platform, making that a hyperlink. So if you're going through that lead tracker, you can directly link into and jump to, oh, I'm going to follow up with them, rather than, oh, I have to copy this handle and go over here and paste it and go to them. And if you can remove as much friction as possible, the like routines of doing sales gets so much easier, or at least for me, it did.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I don't know any entrepreneur who doesn't do this, we all have stuff we have to do each day, and you're looking at a list somewhere, right? You have a to-do list of some sort. That could be digital, it could be written, but you have a list. When sales becomes, I'm going to go down the list of people I need to talk to, that's so easy. That's our bread and butter. We're entrepreneurs. We do 5 different things every single day. My to-do list is always top 5. It used to be 10. My ops coaches have been like, what are you doing? No one wants to do 10 things. But if you can just go through a list, it gets way easier. And then much like Lyndon said, hyperlinking, anything that's going to make it easier for you and your brain is super helpful, especially if Joe meets Sarah in person, gets her text, her phone number, then they meet on LinkedIn, but then that person decides she wants to Instagram, and then you guys have 2 accounts. Like, that's confusing. That's why you need notes on them. And we continually update fields in the tracker. So it'll say like Instagram and LinkedIn, Instagram and email. So you know where all the conversations are going. But the lead tracker only works if you check it regularly, which is going to be at least once or twice a week. When you stop being afraid of a spreadsheet and realize that it gets you dream clients and gets you sales, it gets a lot more fun to open it and use it.
I love that you brought up the follow-up example earlier, because
Yeah.
just to go back to that for a second, one thing that we hear across the board from creatives is you don't think to follow up, and it can feel like you're being annoying if you do, when in reality, on the other side, if they asked you to, they may be expecting you to and almost like needing you to, because now that's, quote unquote, off their plates. They don't have the mental load for it, but they're still interested. So I really appreciate that you shared that side, as a great reminder. Listening to you talk about lead trackers and your approach to all of this, it sounds like you have a system down, which I'm a big fan of, and we're in a season of our business where we're starting to really hone in on our own systems. I'm the kind of person who thrives when I have routines.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a sales routine. So can you walk us through what that looks like?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I'll touch on follow-ups. One of the best things that I've done for consistent sales this year is directly pertinent to follow-ups. And I was thinking about it right before our podcast, and I have content about this. I have a piece of content that's like, if you piss me off, I'm going to move you down in my lead tracker. Like, if you're irritating me, I'm going to bump you down. And the reason is I will give people agreed upon timelines on when we're going to follow up. And there are different situations when you would follow up versus when they're going to follow up. So there's different, iterations of that. But in general, if I do a sales call, if I make a proposal, if I customize a proposal, if I customize a proposal 3 times, I'm going to ask like, hey, Lyndon, I know you're looking to move forward on such thing that we're working on June 15th. If you're looking to move forward by that date to reach your goals, we would need to come to a decision together 2 weeks before, by June 1st. Can you check in with me by June 1st? And if you don't, I'm happy to follow up, but I'd love to hear back from you on June 1st via email. If not, I'll check in with you around that date. That's an ethical boundary. Then Lyndon's either going to say, yeah, I can follow up at that date, or no, we're going to be traveling for 2 weeks. I think we need more time. Could we follow up on June 4th? But that's an agreement, and that's a massive green or red flag from me, which is as simple as, are you going to do what you say you're going to do? And if they don't, and if someone comes back to me 4, 5, 6 times across 6 months and keeps telling me that they lost the proposal, that they got busy, that they can't find the email, you're not an ideal client for us. Sales moves quickly. I need somebody that has communication and organization and is able to keep their word. But the follow-up and the follow-up strategy is really important, which is to say we make an agreement on one of us is going to follow up by this date. I'm going to follow up once and we're going to go from there. But we expect to make decisions as business owners together by a certain date. So just that really quick.
I think that is such a great disclaimer, because just because we are talking about lead gen doesn't mean every lead is going to be a quality lead. And so that is a really important piece to figure out. And I think it's great that you have green flags, red flags, maybe throw some yellow flags in too. When there are the cases when you need to ask a couple questions to determine if it's one or the other.
I think the thing that I might just kind of throw in here is like observationally, when we started putting timelines on things, I was shocked by how many people thanked me for putting a timeline of like, hey, can I follow up with you in the 3rd week of June on this if today's the wrong day to be talking about this? And like 2 out of 3 times I would get, thank you. I'm so happy that you are taking this off my plate and I don't have to worry about it now. And I just know it'll come back up when the time is right.
This is not like someone who was even like in close proximity to me, but someone that I adore. Her name was Katie Print. She's out of the UK. She was a like whirlwind salesperson. She talked about like pizza and sales, and that was it all the time. And she used to say in like British speak that you don't want your behind on a spiky fence, which is to say decision making is teetering on a spiky fence, and you're either going to finally decide yes or no, or maybe, Lyndon, can you answer some questions before I decide? But yeah, I agree. I have people thank me for following up. I have people thank me that like, oh, let's make this decision 2 days before I go on spring break with my family for a week and a half, because I don't want to be thinking about this when I'm with my children on my cruise. So yeah, I totally agree. It just shows like your level of professionalism and sets expectations from the beginning of like, this is a 2-way street. Like if you want to be, we want to treat each other with respect. And this is an example of how we're going to do that.
If we kind of circle back around to like, what does a normal day of lead gen or sales look like for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good day to ask because this is the first day where I got like my regular sales routine finally after also working on systems for a month, which has been very tedious and arguably torturous to work through for me. I'm not a systems person, but I have support with that, so that's nice. I mean, the most important thing for a sales routine is to have a sales routine, right? And like any habit, which you guys are very like successful at what you do, and I think know a lot about habits and habit stacking. I think we even talked
Mm-hmm.
about that at the retreat.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
regarding like habit stacking, you have to keep doing it. And if you like it, you're going to keep doing it. And the
Mm-hmm.
faster it's rewarding, you're going to keep doing it. So I want people to have a sales routine. It's going to include checking your lead tracker, and I'll tell you the order that I do it. But for you all to do it, you need to make sure you like it. So you keep doing
Mm-hmm.
it and then keep doing it after that. So the first thing that I do for my sales routine is that I always have like Instagram stories up. So my sales content philosophy is really simple that we're going to get into. I call it a sales content recipe, but my team and I were talking about this morning. I make sales content from the questions that people ask. So if someone asked me, I made a $10,000 proposal for Sarah. I followed up twice. She didn't answer. What do you think I should do? I'll make content on that. So I make like content on the questions, topics, comments that I hear on a daily basis in a fairly timely manner. So I make Instagram stories each day. I've done so as long as Instagram stories have been able to be made, whenever that actually was. So because I have the Instagram stories up, the first thing I do is check my Instagram stories viewers. I've never heard anyone talk about this before besides myself, and most people have never done this before, and it's really important. So the first thing I do is check Instagram stories. I'm going to go through that in just a second. But I check Instagram stories first because I want to capture the newest potential leads. I don't want to let them go when the stories expire. Little note, I think you guys can now see your stories viewers like up to 48 hours past if you go to your archive. But ideally, you're capturing them when they first see it, which means you want to do it within the first day. But I do Instagram stories, checking the viewers first, which I'll detail in just a second. Then I check my lead tracker for anybody I know I need to get back to. That's a warm or hot lead. Then I'll make new sales content on topics I already have written down or new topics that come up when I'm negotiating or discussing a new sale. Then, if we get to it, we'll do like new lead generation as well and reach out to new accounts. So, those are my 4 steps: Instagram stories, viewers, lead tracker, new sales content, whether it's Instagram stories, reels, carousels, and then we'll start reaching out to new accounts. I usually don't get there because we have enough people already in our audience, which you all probably do too. So, anyways, we'll go through that. But Instagram stories viewers, what Instagram wants you to do is care about your analytics. What I want you to do is care about human beings. They're
Mm.
totally different topics. And because of that, we were taught as business owners, really, whenever you came into the scene. But I was taught viral views, likes, comments, viral views, likes, comments. Then they hid the likes and comments. Then they brought back the likes. Like, whoever knows what they're doing. Whatever they're doing is usually meant for influencers selling like digital products or like reselling courses, all sorts of things. So, for those of us that are creators or business owners, we care about human beings, and I want you to look out for humans, not numbers, which means on your Instagram stories, if you go to the bottom and like open up where the metrics are, there's 2 tabs, and one of them, I think, has like a little like person on it, and the other one has like stats little icon on it. You want to look at where the human beings are. So you want to look at the people that have viewed those stories. The people at the first stories are usually going to be everyone and people that have just found you, people that are coming back, people that found you organically. So if all of us went to a networking event, we might see 3, 4 people from a big networking event on our first story. We might see that girl, Sarah, that we talked to a few weeks ago in our mastermind there. So the first story is going to capture everyone, but mostly I'm looking for new people. So either they're people I don't know and I don't recognize their profile, or they're people that have come back from 3 months, 6 months, 24 months ago. And I think, oh, there's Sierra again. It's been a long time. That's what I look through first. And then second, I go to the end of my stories because I'm always sharing like my sales expertise as well as my cat and lots of mountain pictures in Denver. But at the end of the Instagram stories, those are the people that bothered to watch all the way through. They're
Right.
probably your most interested leads. I got a really good question in the middle of like an in-person event last summer. This gal, Emily McDonald, who I love, told me, well, whenever I make Instagram stories, the views go down, which illustrates my point so perfectly. And I told her, that's exactly what you want. And she was like, what are you even talking about? Why would I want less people to be watching? Because you want your buyers to be watching. And like my middle school friend and my mom and like my cousin-in-law, like they're all watching too, and that's cool. But I'm looking for the buyers in that mix. So the first story will show you new people or people coming back and everybody else. The end is going to tell you the top buyers. That's what I look through first.
I'm curious because I'm guessing a lot of people are wondering, how long does this take?
Not that long. I like to tell people 30 minutes a day. I mean, I did my clients' leads work for this morning first, and one of them, Ashley she like got amped about Threads. She posted on Threads 7 times yesterday, and I found weirdly 7 potential leads on Threads too. That took me like maybe 10 minutes. So ideally, you're checking stories viewers. You might find 3-5 people to follow up with or send a message to in a couple of minutes. Then my lead tracker, again, I might have 3 people to follow up with. The Instagram stories will take me 5 to 7 minutes. And if you have a few minutes left, you could reach out to a few new people that liked your post or commented on your post or liked or commented on your threads. Or somebody you met at a networking event that followed you and you didn't get to say hi first. But ideally, about 30 minutes. You don't have to do this in the morning. You could do it across the day. You don't have to do it every day. You could do it 3, 4, 5 days a week. You could do 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. The important thing is a routine that works for you. So the amount of days that's actually feasible, the amount of time that's actually feasible, number of platforms that's actually feasible, and then split it up as it works for you. Like if you want to talk to people in the morning, I do after coffee, talk to people in the morning. Once it becomes like 3, 4, 5 o'clock, I don't so much want to talk to anybody. So pick the time of day that works for you. But the most important thing is that you build a routine and you do have I have a lead tracker. I'm making content. I'm going to go through these steps. I'm going to talk to these people. And if it helps you all out, as a side note, my sales ethos is selling is helping, because Joe and Lyndon and myself get to help people a lot more and a lot more of them if we get into close proximity in some kind of paid container. For the most part, we do lots of free things. You're doing this podcast, but we can help people a lot more intimately in a paid container. So that's my sales ethos, is that selling is helping. And if you think in the morning or the afternoon, like, I don't want to show up and sell to people, like, try to reframe that as, I'm going to show up and help people that need me and see if they want that help. That's pretty hard to uncommit to. Like, if I'm tired or if I want to go lay outside on my patio, it's pretty hard for me to justify, like, if I'm taking care of myself. After that, it's pretty hard for me to justify they need my help, but I don't care, because I do care. So I'm going to show up because I committed to myself and them that I'm going to do it.
For the people that have done exactly what you're doing and they open up stories every day and they look and they start seeing familiar faces that are getting to the end of the stories, what is the logical next step from these like 11 people look at my stories every day to sales actually happens in a conversation, and there's a big divide between them watching and an actual conversation? How do you close that?
Yeah. The first thing I would say too, I mean, people tell me like 7 people watch my stories, 20 people watch my stories. Arguably, this gets way harder if you have a lot of people watching your stories. If you have, like, we have clients who have 50, 75, 100. I've had 30 stories viewers for like my whole life. It's always 30 to 50. There's always buyers in there. So, like, the numbers matter, but the humans matter more. So, like, are there people in there that could fit your ideal client? When I am reaching out to somebody new, really it's going to go both ways. But when I'm reaching out to somebody new, I'm going to message them and tell them where I found them. The same way that I might go to a networking event and message Cassie the next day. I'm going to be like, hey, Cassie, I met you at Bestie's boardroom. Just wanted to follow up, let you know how we found each other. So we have that log of how we first met. So I'm going to tell people like, hey, I found you through my Instagram stories. I was talking about blah, blah, blah. I wanted to make myself available in case you have any questions. How is this thing that I was talking about going for you? People are watching for a reason. There are millions of people you could watch in millions of different platforms. If somebody is watching you once, if they're watching you for a few minutes, if they're watching you for 7 minutes, if they keep watching every few days or every day, there's a reason. They think that you're valuable, and you are valuable. So first of all, like, if I'm reaching out to somebody new, I'm going to follow up with them. Like, I'll DM them from the story, or I'll even DM them the story, like just send it to them. Be like, hey, Molly, I found you through my Instagram stories today. I was talking about how to generate new leads on Instagram. I'm curious if that's something that you're working on. Do you have any questions I can help support you with? Also, sometimes I'll go look at their feed too and find something that we like have in common or something I'm interested about and ask them about that as well. Sometimes I'll do either or, sometimes I'll do both. It's not totally dissimilar to someone you're following up with, except you already have like established rapport. So if I like see context in the conversation previously that relates to them, which I often will, like I was talking about, people ask me about, like, I'm doing sales calls with people that just want to pick my brain, and I'll talk to them about, when do you need to do sales calls? When do you not need to do sales calls? Like, I don't need to do a sales call for a $300 paid call offering. Like, we don't need to necessarily do 2 calls for a $300 call. So anyways, if I'm talking to someone about that and I go make content about it, I'll tell them like, hey, I actually made this because of our great conversation. It answered some of the questions I think that we were talking about. Why don't you check this out? And then, let's chat from there. So it's pretty similar, but really, like, we're bringing up topics from conversations we're having and then either carrying on or starting conversations on those topics.
I'm glad you brought up content, because that's a pretty big piece when we are talking about Instagram specifically. Everyone wants to know, what content do I need to post that's going to make more sales? Knowing that your area of expertise is lead gen and you are using content to start some of those conversations, how do you think about the content piece to aid those sales conversations that then happen?
Yeah. I think, again, to go back to like the entire entrepreneur industry as a horde, I think people like completely conflate marketing and sales. They're 2 sides of the same coin, and you need both. But we have clients who've done this too. When they want to make more sales, they market more, but it wasn't necessarily working in the first place, and more of it might not do any better for them. And even if it does, then you need a plan to be able to handle those leads. So a lot of people confuse that they need marketing and they need the sales piece. The second thing would be that in terms of like what to make, we do want to have like 2 sides of this plan. One of them is that I post whatever I'm passionate about. That's one of them. The second thing is that I have a sales content recipe that actually includes the information people need to see to make a buying decision. This is where it gets not confusing, because all of us that are like here and listening to this podcast, you know what your offer is. You know what your ideal client is looking for. You know the success stories your clients have had before. You know the questions people are going to ask you before you buy. So all that I'm doing in our sales content recipe is combining all of those ingredients together to basically give the people what they want. So I'll make content behind the scenes of my own business, which does well. I've worked my behind off on it. Joe and Lyndon know this, but I'm sober. Also, that's an incredible proponent of my success. But I've worked in business for a really long time, and I like to be supportive of those that are trying to grow theirs. So I'll make behind the scenes content of my own business. I'll make whatever else I want to, which often comes from great conversations. And then I'll make content with my sales content recipe. So I'll go down the list of those.
Yes, please.
What most people do these days who've been in a mastermind or have had a coach, they have an about me, which is a great one. They have an about me, they have a ways to work with me, then they have something else. Sometimes it's like a testimonial. And to really clarify, I'm talking about putting these sales content ingredients, of which there are 8 of them, of putting 3 of those as carousels at the top of your page. So your top 3 pin posts. All of the rest you can make content on, and you can rotate them around as like what's needed. So the types of content that are in this ingredients list, I continually add to. We have the list because even I can't list them all out off the top of my brain. But the most important ones to put at the top of your feed would be 3 of these 4. Number 1, you want to have an offer post or a ways to work with me post. It depends on your buyer type and how many offers that you have. Like, for me, I'm usually just doing like a 1 offer post that talks about our signature offer, because that's what I'm most focused on providing right now. But if I was in a really busy season of business and I didn't want a lot of new retainer clients, I might have my master classes on there, my podcast on there, my subscription to my Substack, my digital product, my paid course, whatever. But for mine, I usually just have 1 offer on there. But you could also have ways to work with me, and you could have 2 or 3 or 4 offers. I also will add, I put the price on my offerings, which is super pertinent to creators who oftentimes are afraid of putting prices, which I would say I would put your starting range, because you want to be able to ethically answer the question to someone of, do you fall within the range of my budget? If if Joe and Lyndon have a $5,000 offer and my budget is $500, we're probably not going to meet in the middle, which means we might have a great connection, but effectively I've wasted their time because I can't provide them with what they're looking for. So that's actually really helpful to them, not just to you. So offer post first. Second would be a client story. The biggest mistake people make is we post a really beautiful testimonial with 0 context. It's like essentially the title of a book, but like, what else? Like, what happened? Like, what did they do with you? What problem did they start with? What were the steps that you took? Like, unless you really guide a testimonial and you have specific questions for people to answer, they're usually great and they kind of go all over the place like an essay. Even if you get really like clear questions that people answer on what you're looking for in terms of feedback, it can be too much information. A client story is really like a Disney arc or a hero's journey of the process someone went with to work with you. So offer post first, client story second, and then I would put FAQs or when is the right time to work with me. FAQs is like you going 10 levels down from where your expertise level is. And that doesn't mean the people you're talking to aren't incredibly intelligent and experienced in their areas of business, but they might not understand what even is a done for you leads agency. Like, that's always the first question on those slides. And the carousel format gives you so much space to put all this information. In like a couple of years ago, before people really caught on to putting carousels at the top of their bio, people would put all this information on their website. Arguably, there isn't even enough space on a website to put the amount of information people need to know. FAQs carousels will have like 10, 15, 18 slides, because then I can send that to the people that ask different questions over and over again, and they have it as like a note in our messaging conversations. Then the when to work with me really is a question that could go in your FAQs, but it's also like a really important side note on its own also, because there are stages of business and stages of where you'll help people in their business. So knowing that and then matching it with the kind of support is really helpful. Like it could be, when are you ready to work with me? It could be, who's a good fit and not to work with me. It could be, which is the right support option for you. All of those would work.
Those are really good. I love your tip on the FAQ post. When you first said 17 to 18 slides, my immediate question was going to be, but aren't you worried about people associating you with overwhelm? But to hear there's actually strategy behind it, it's for you to be able to send that slide, which is already laid out, to the person asking the question. I love that so much.
Yeah, what happens without that information? Like, I'm a huge voice note person because eventually I get tired of typing and I talk to a lot of incredible people every day. So I'm a big voice note person. But if someone asked me, like, I've never had my leads in my lead tracker, they're from 4 different sources, where would I even get them? What would I put in there? How am I going to use it? That's a complex question. It has follow-up questions. There are questions they haven't gotten to yet that I've heard hundreds of times that I know are going to come up. So really what it shows is, yes, a lot of information. It also shows your level of preparation, expertise, and care as a provider, that you know all of the things that they're thinking and you want to make really sure that they're comfortable in their decision with you.
Really, really good. So for anyone listening, just real quick, I'm going to give you guys a little inside scoop because we did put together a exclusive workbook for you guys, which goes into developing your content recipe. So this is Alyssa's framework. You will be able to get access to it through a link in the description. So go check that out. I know this is a lot of really great stuff, and that workbook will help you apply it to your own content so that you can start to use your content to your advantage and connect with more leads to build your business to be even more profitable, because that's the goal, right? So I am so happy you brought this up. I want to go back to something you brought up earlier, was on the topic of ethical sales. And this is a pretty big thing in the sales world because not everyone approaches it in a way that feels great. I'm curious, what does ethical DM sales process specifically, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So I would say, like, the biggest question that I get around this is, how do we go from what I call like cats, dogs, and coffee to a conversation around business? And I'll be like really frank about it. Like, I love people and I get that from my family. And that was like illustrated to me from like the age I was 2. But I love people, but also I have a responsibility to the people that need my help to show up for them and to put them first and to help as many people as I can, which does at some point mean helping the clients you want to help as well as your community after that. Like, I do arguably have a responsibility to my clients, then my leads, then my community. All of them are important, but also, unfortunately, we only get 24 hours in the day. So I say that because at some point in business and at some point in some conversations, the business conversation needs to be a business conversation. Like, do we want to help each other or not? Can we collaborate? Can I have you guys on my podcast? Can we do a stories collab? Can I refer to Joe and Lyndon? Like, all of these are supportive, productive things we can do together. As is, can one of us work together? Can one of us start a contract with the other? So where most people get stuck is in my first step, which is the rapport building phase. And we do want to be able to, if it's an ideal fit, if they're interested, if you want to help them, if they want that help, to go to the next step. So rapport building would be first, which is building a relationship with someone, which really goes to like, do you like this person? Do you guys have shared values together? There are people in my stories, my content I would never work with because I know some about their belief system and we're not aligned in our belief systems. So rapport building really goes to, do I like them? Is this someone I would want to help? That's first. It's your business. I want you to enjoy the client experiences that you're providing. The second would be goals. So we need to figure out if they have goals that you can help with. And I do that by asking them about those goals. Like, hey, Lyndon, I'm curious, what are you guys working on for June? I'd love to hear what you're working on. I'd love to see if there's any way we can support one another. And I will reciprocate that with what I'm working on as well. It's a two-way street. If I want you guys to share, then I need to also share. So rapport building is first, goals is second. What are their goals? The third one would be, what types of actions are they taking to get to those goals? The fourth is going to be, if they have goals you can help with and they're taking action to get there, is this something that you're looking to really move on? Are you looking to further your progress on this goal? Because I could help with that. I have expertise in these ways with this topic. Is that something you want to hear about? They're either going to say, no, I'm good right now. I don't think I need that support. I have that support. Or, sure, tell me the details. So that's consent, which goes to ethical sales. And then the last piece is tracking the conversation. If you get a yes, if they're interested, or if they say, me and my family are going on a Disney cruise for 2 weeks, could you follow up with me when I'm back? Still, I'm going to put them in the lead tracker. So of those 5 steps, rapport building, goals, actions, consent to offer, and then the lead tracker, rapport building is really, do I like this person? Do I think I could help them? Goals is this something that I could help them with? Actions is this something that they're taking action on or would want to? And then we do consent to offer if they have goals you could help with, they're clearly taking action on it, they want to progress on that goal, and they say, yes, tell me the details. And then we track the lead and go from there.
If I circle back to the example you give right at the beginning of, like, you like to talk about cats, dogs, and coffee. I know that there's a lot of people in our audience that love to DM about the same things as well. Yeah. And if you find yourself in a place where I've spent 3 weeks talking about cats, dogs, or coffee, and they're my ideal client, but how do I turn the conversation? Using this like ethical DM sales process, how do you do that turn?
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to do it is at the places where entrepreneurs naturally make plans, right? So we have a plan for our week. We have a plan for the weekend. We have a plan for next month, next quarter, next year. So it's really easy to do that. If it's been 3 weeks, eventually the next month is going to come up, right? So right now it's 5/22. We have 1 week left in the month of May. I could say to Danny, who I'm talking to, like, hey, Danny, I know that, we've talked about this, that, and the other. I know that you're traveling to London. I know that you've been working on your content. I'm curious, like, what are you looking to wrap up in the week of May? What's coming up next for you for June? I wanted to see if there's a way that our businesses could align and support one another. The trap is that if you do that just to a T, you kind of have to put this in your voice. This is why I'm anti-script, because you can fall into the trap of, Joe, I'll refer to you. Will you refer to me? But what we really want to ask is, I'm curious what kinds of goals you're working on. This is what I'm working on, and see if there's like shared interest in continuing that conversation. It's kind of implicit. Like, if I will tell you that I've been hiring people to do this, that, and the other because we want to get to this goal, maybe that's something you can help with. Maybe it's not, but it gives you an open door to share what you're working on or not. And then we can go from there. But you're not yet asking, like, you are asking to get to know them further by asking about their business. We are in a business conversation. If they have a business profile and it fits your ICA, we are in a business conversation, even if we've talked about my coffee preferences first, which is a great place to start, but someone does need to connect the dots back to business. There are ways that I'll like connect coffee to business. Like, I've been jammed up in my office for 12 hours. Finally, I'm going to get to go get a coffee right after this. I'm going to get a coffee at my favorite coffee shop in this little garage and go to the park and talk to my leads because we're looking to get 2 new clients, next week. And that opens the door for a situational approach to what I care about and what I'm working on but I've been doing this for a really long time. But also, if you guys can talk to a person at a networking event, you can talk to someone in the DMs. Just remember that you're in a business. If someone gets offended because you ask what business goals they're working on, there are way worse things we could say to one another. It's not so bad. It's okay. I've pissed like 5 people off in the last 11 years who were like, how dare you ask me about my company? I'm so sorry. You run a business. I was curious. Like, I hate to offend you. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is true, though. I have a lot of my own thoughts on this because
please.
just agreeing, because there's a lot of women in particular, or introverts, where it can be a little challenging to cross that bridge from, I want to see you as a human and I want to get to know you and be a genuine human being and have these meaningful interactions. But at some point, bills got to get paid, and our goals have got to see progress. And if we're not taking the actions that get us there, well, something's got to give. So
Yeah.
I hear everything that you're saying. I also just think it's a great reminder, like you pointed out, that, putting it into your own words. We have a lot of clients who prefer sending voice memos because that works really well for them. And then you get to hear the tone of voice and you can ask those questions and go back and forth. Other people prefer to send paragraphs. Other people like to hop on calls. And so the reminder is just do it in a way that works for you, but don't be afraid to make that move, because to your point, at the end of the day, you have a business to run. And the more money that you make, the more good you are able to do. And that is my personal soapbox.
I think it's also like the level setting you put at the beginning. Like, we're doing this to help people.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of last year, I thought about this so much. In case any of us have forgotten, there's a great deal of world turmoil going on right now. And I kept thinking, at the end of last year, when I had an incredibly difficult time in business, I kept thinking, like, I'm dealing with this terrible toxic issue that I never asked for, that's draining my energy, peace, sanity, my support of my family, my friends, my colleagues. And if I wasn't dealing with this, I could continue to increase our sales, help more people, and have more time to volunteer, have more funds to donate. Like, that's why I do this. Like, money is money. It does lots and lots of things, but also, like, I work my behind off so that my money supports all of my team. My money supports my family. My money supports my community. My money allows me to do nonprofit work. Like, people think like, oh, she's talking about making money. Like, it's for a darn good reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You also support your local barista. It's very important.
Oh my gosh, I love them so much. Talk about that for they're making like sage, lavender, violet drinks. Like, these gals are on it. I know. It's Denver.
Wow.
We have really good
sounds
food.
Great.
Yeah.
You do. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, there's so many different things we could continue talking about here, but we can move this into lightning round, and I will just put it out there. I am sure Alyssa would be happy to answer any questions you guys have. So we'll get to your social handle in just a bit. But we love to end these conversations with lightning round questions. There's just some rapid fire. So we'll go through a couple just for fun. So is there a book that you are currently reading?
Still working on Atomic Habits. That's the one I'm working on as I talk about lead tracking and habits. And then I've also been reading, now I'm going to forget the name. I will come back on it. Like the Game of Thrones predecessor. I've been reading those as well. I really like those books. So trying to mix like fiction and productivity together.
There are specific people listening to this right now, just like yelling the name Enjoy. So
Yep.
Okay, good.
I'm going to throw a follow-up question. Is there a sales book that you highly recommend?
Oh man, like until I write the one I'm gonna write, it's been like a hard time looking. There's one called like Objections by Joe Blount, if I have his name correct, but I have not found a pragmatic sales book written by a woman, and I have looked so hard. I've looked everywhere I could think of that was not just I like you guys have interviewed some of these incredible people. Like I love the books that are storytelling with a woman who is telling her story
Mhm.
and making sales. I want to write one that's like a guide on how to make sales in Instagram DMs. So that's coming. Stay
That's
tuned.
the
And we will buy it.
best answer you could have given. I love that so much.
Yeah.
So if I move on to the second question in our lightning round, what is a typical day in the life for you?
Yeah, I'm getting back to the ideal typical day in a life, which is basically Slack for as little time as possible. I'll do team calls and client calls when needed. Mostly the only like live call stuff I'm doing is like podcast or master classes. But I love spring, summer being outside. So trying to do as little Slack, as little calls as possible, except for collaborations. And then mostly it's like going outside to the roof, the mountains, or the lake and doing DM sales, which is like I get to talk to incredible people, hear their story, and help them, which is my favorite thing.
I love that. Since
Yeah.
coffee has come up a couple of times, what is your go-to coffee order?
Oh man, whatever they're making down the street, I really like, I know, kill me for this, but I really like the brown sugar shaken oat milk espresso
Oh,
thing
yeah.
at
It's great.
Starbucks. I
It is
know,
really good.
trying to support the local, but it's really good. We have their creamer, which I highly recommend. They sell that in Kroger. Yeah.
Good to know.
So we talked about books. Is there someone that you are learning from that's not an author?
Probably my CRO, my chief revenue officer, Zoe, whose like Instagram handle we can share as well, has taught me so much. Lyndon, you'd love this about like sales systems and combining Hey Clients and N8N and Claude and ManyChat and like development, backend, lead gen stuff, like things that I've looked for 11 years and never found. And the reason is it had to be built by someone with like custom development. But she's really great at like big infrastructure for scaling a company without like losing your mind, which is very easy to do.
Oof.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last question is, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I think the biggest question I was thinking of that I was talking about earlier today is what has your all's experience been going from you've had all different iterations of multiple businesses? What has it been like with one-on-one offers versus now with break room and selling a group container? Like how easy or hard, how different has that been?
They are different, and yet there's some overlap. It's interesting. We have found that like our one-on-one coaching is great for going deeper on those topics with entrepreneurs who are trying to scale to a higher level. And they really need the support on how to break down those priorities so that they can hit their goals. I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and she was like, so basically you help people stay sane. I was like, yeah, pretty much. So that's one way of going about it. Which is just really cool because you get to see the growth that can happen in a business over a length of time, and you really get to be a long-term partner with that. A lot of business owners don't have business partners. Lyndon and I have a luxury of that. We get to divide responsibilities and really like make a lot of progress because there's two of us, and so that speed is slightly faster. And when you don't have a partner in your business, it can be really easy to compare yourself to other people, first of all, which there's a danger there. So for anyone listening to that, you're doing great, I promise. But it can be really helpful to have someone come in like a business coach who can be that long-term partner with you. And that's basically what we do with those clients is we'll partner with them on, okay, we see the goals that you're working towards. We love them. We're here for them. Now, how are we going to make it happen? So that's the coaching side. Break room is basically what it sounds like, where our one of our big goals with the break room is for it to be like an incubator where you have multiple businesses inside who are going after these big dreams, and you kind of feed off of each other. So you get to hold each other accountable and get all of this outside perspective from your peers who have had experiences that may be similar to what you're going through or are different, and they're able to bring their perspective into whatever situation it is that you're actively solving for. And so you get more camaraderie. It's basically like where coaching, you're able to go deep. In the break room, you have so much more to it where you've got multiple perspectives and resources and backgrounds. And so I don't even know how to fully explain it. It's just as contagious in the best kind of way.
I think possibly what I will add to hopefully directly answer your question, like the lead gen or sales process of the two, because we have like, they are kind of different. Like there is a pretty big price point difference on like a 10 times factor, whatever, however magnitude factor, whatever that's called. And I think it's interesting of like coaching is generally relationship based. So like that's referrals, that's people we meet at conferences, that's people we have nurtured for a long time on socials and been friends for a while. Break room is a lot quicker. It's still based on us, but the process is quicker because you meet so many more touch points and it's not just us selling anymore. So you can see there's like, and it's not that uncommon for us we onboard someone to the break room and they already know a couple people in the break room. And so we aren't the only quote unquote salespeople for the break room, which makes the process very different. And it's still kind of new for us. So we're learning like the major differences there, but like at the current point, like that's where I'm seeing the leads are different. And it's just interesting learning a new system as well.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say to like groups too, that's what I always tell anyone who's selling like any kind of group container. It becomes not just about you, it's about the power of the people in the room. And if you're not celebrating those people, you're massively missing the mark. Even like behind the scenes of our call, behind the scenes of what can be permissibly shared from a group chat, showcasing new members joining, letting them be on your Instagram stories and celebrate what they're talking about in the group. Because if you don't do that, lower ticket programs can be harder to sell than higher ticket programs. So that's a massive, really good strategy piece and helpful for people to know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this conversation. It has been so enlightening for anyone who's been paying attention and is like, I have more questions. I've got to talk to Alyssa. How can they connect with you?
You guys can come find me on Instagram. It's my full name. I know they will link it. It's Alyssa L. Moorhead. Just shoot me a DM. Let us know that you found us from the podcast today. And any friend of Joe and Lyndon, I can't wait to meet. So please come say hi. Ask me anything about sales and business and coffee and cats and mountains, and I will be there for you.
All right, we'll have those links for you guys in the description. And don't forget, there's also an exclusive workbook with Alyssa's content recipe, which will help you know the content to post that will lead to those conversations so you can get those conversions. So thank you, Alyssa. This has been fantastic. We appreciate you. And thank you guys for listening all the way to the end. You're the best. We will see you next time. Bye.